Let's now continue the subject of the couples from Genesis, talking about Isaac and Rebekah, Jacob's parents. Today, we will understand this important point. What if you are being tested? Keep this question in mind and you will understand it soon. Let's first understand something here. How was the selection of Rebekah for Isaac and vice versa? How did they meet? And what criteria did God use for these two to come to fit together? Sometimes you see a couple that's well-adjusted. You see a happy and well-adjusted couple, and you think, look how beautiful. It looks like they were born for each other. They're so perfect. They fit together, etc. Of course, there is no such thing as a perfect couple, but you see couples that fit together. But what you don't understand is that many times the work of a happy marriage started even before they met, which was the case with Isaac and Rebekah. And we will understand some of these details here, who they were as an individual before they became a couple, and how it influenced them to become a happy couple. We know, we've already talked about Isaac and Rebekah, the way Abraham used the faith to choose a wife for Isaac. When Isaac was around 40 years old, Sarah had just died, and then Abraham called his servant, his most trusted servant, and told him, look, you will go to my relative's house and you will choose a wife for my son Isaac. In no way will I allow my son to leave here and go back to my relative's house. No way. She's the one who has to come to us. We spoke about this last week. And he entrusted this faithful servant to go, made him swear, he made an oath, a promise to fulfill his mission exactly as given. And Isaac had to trust that the angel of the Lord, God himself, as Abraham told his servant, the servant asked, how will I know who is the woman that will be his future wife? And Abraham said, the angel of the Lord who had promised me a descendant, he will go ahead of you and will arrange this meeting and will convince her to come with you. So the servant had to believe, Abraham had to believe, and Isaac had to believe. Faith, faith, faith. So the servant departed and went to the land of Abraham's relatives. Arriving there, he knew that the woman of the city would go out to get water from the well. Getting water from the well was a job. That was mainly a woman's job at the time. And it wasn't an easy one because it involved getting water, carrying the water, etc. But the women were the one who did this work. So there at the well, the women of the city used to gather. So strategically, as soon as the servant arrived from the long trip, he went straight to the well. And when he arrived, he made a prayer. Abraham's servant, and prayed to God and asked God for direction and said, Lord, give me a good meeting. Give me a sign. The woman that I ask for water to drink, and she not only comes to offer me water to drink, but also give my camels to drink, this one will be the chosen one. So I'll know that this was the woman you chose. He had finished praying, and Rebekah arrived to get water from the well, not knowing anything. Then the following happened. And the servant ran to meet her to Rebekah and said, "Please, let me drink a little water from your pitcher." So she said, "Drink, my lord." Then she quickly let her pitcher down to her hand and gave him a drink. Up to this point, so far, so good. Nothing special. You offer some water to a stranger, a traveler who's thirsty. Nothing special. But then comes the test, comes the criteria. And when she had finished giving him a drink, she said, "I will draw water for your camels also, until they have finished drinking." Look at the detail. Until they finish drinking. And quickly. You know, we've already talked about how many liters of water a camel drinks on average, right? It's not a glass. It's not a bucket. A camel can drink up to 200 liters of water on average. Do you know how many camels were with Abraham's servant? How many? Who knows? Guess. 5, 2, 7, 10 camels. That's right. 10 camels. 10 camels were with him. That's why he gave the test. The woman who offers to give my camels water to drink, this one has already passed all the possible tests. She's ready. Isn't that right? So there goes the tip. For the singles. You single, you who are there, considering a girl to date, here's the tip. For you to consider if she is suitable for dating, make a date at the well and get there with camels.
You see her availability, that calls attention, right? Because as much as we know that there was a test from the part of the Abraham's servant, we see that first he had this discernment. He had this discernment that because he was in a very difficult situation. How am I going to choose a person for my Lord, for the son of my master? Who am I, right? So as much as Abraham told him, look, an angel of the God is going before you and he's going to guide you, the servant of Abraham, he didn't have that relationship with God like Abraham did. But a great responsibility was given to him. So as a servant, he knew what to look for in a servant. Because the servant in that time, today, we see that people, they don't even understand anymore what it is to be a servant because it doesn't really exist anymore. But in the time, a servant, they had pleasure to serve. They had pleasure to serve. It was like a privilege. The privilege of being able to give water to their master, of being able to get a cup of water to wash their feet. It was a privilege. The servant, they saw themselves as, this is my objective in life, to serve this person that is responsible for me. So he had this criteria of what it was to be a servant. And this is the discernment that God gave him. This is the discernment that the angel placed inside of him. To look for someone that had this disposition of serving. Because relationship, it is service. It is to serve. You go into a relationship with a person to serve them, and they serve you. You don't get into a relationship to keep saying, do you love me? No. You want more than that. You want more than just words. You want more than kisses and hugs. So the angel gave him this discernment. You need to look for someone who has this availability to serve. So when he asked God, a woman who has this disposition to serve him and the camels, he was putting the criteria way up high, because women, imagine, I'm putting myself in the woman's place during that time, every single day, going to the well to get water. And it was water for everything, to take a bath, for everything. So for everything, they had to go there and get water from the well. And water is not light. So you had to get water for the whole family. So it was that heavy thing that you had to be carrying every single day. It was kind of like that routine. It wasn't an easy routine. And she was there getting the water for the family. She served him, who could have easily said, why don't you get water from the well? Because I have this water that's for my family. I have things to do. I have so many things to do. Why can't you make a way?
Yeah,
right.
I'll lend you a bucket here, but you should please
Go
draw
there.
the water. Because it wasn't a well with a rope and a bucket. It was a well, according to the Bible. Very interesting. You can read later. 24 of Genesis, which speaks in detail of this story, and the details are very important. The well, it says that she had to go down some stairs to get the water. So, when she gave water to Abraham's servant, she had already come down once. Now she proposes, I'm going to give water to your camels until they're done drinking. So how many times must she have gone down and up those stairs with the bucket on her head? I mean, it was unreasonable to expect anyone, even being asked to do this, even getting paid to do this. Maybe being paid good money, someone would do it. But it was unreasonable for a girl, a young lady, to do that. But she did it without being asked. And she didn't do it anyway. No, she did. The Bible says she went quickly. She hurried, and I will draw water for your camels also until they have finished drinking. Then she quickly emptied her pitcher into the trough, ran back to the well to draw water, and drew for all his camels. And the man was wondering at her. In other words, it was also something that caused admiration. He remained silent as to know whether the Lord had made his journey prosperous. She is the one. I imagine that after the first camel, it was already confirmed, right? I mean, the spirit of serving, as Cristiane said, the spirit of serving is very important that you understand. Because I know that serving, the spirit of a servant today, is not something usually applauded in the world. People want to be served, don't they? People want to be served. They don't want to serve. The position of serving today is considered an inferior position. But biblically speaking, in the biblical sense, it is not an ugly, bad, inferior thing to serve. On the contrary, Jesus said, whoever desires to become great among you, let him be your servant. In God's world, it is the opposite of what happens out there. Out there, if the wife serves the husband, desperate housewife. Look at her serving him. How sad. But in God's world, the woman serving her husband, she is living the role of wife, as well as the husband serving his wife. Because it's not only the wife that serves the husband is the one who serves the most. The husband, God speaks in his word that the husband, as Jesus gave his life for the church, the man has to give his life for his wife. So when the husband serves his wife, he's not being a doormat. He's not being weak. He's not being a dummy. He's being a smart husband because he knows his wife serves him too. That's how I learned. I learned the following. Cristiane is my helper. God created the wife as her husband's helper. She is my helper. I need her. If I want to have a good helper that's suitable, I must take care of her. I have to invest in her. The more I invest in my helper, the more she will help me. It's a matter of intelligence. So if I serve my helper, she's happy. Oh, she'll serve me a lot better. So it's a cycle, a virtuous cycle. It's not a vicious cycle. It's a virtuous cycle. Virtue circulates in this exchange of services. Of course, if you say, but what if only one is willing to serve? There's always someone who says that, right? What if one person gives and the other only wants to receive? Only one gives and the other one just receives.
When you serve, you're happy with yourself. You're happy with yourself. When you don't serve, when you argue, when you complain, when you hurt, when you get revenge, you're not happy. You feel bad. And then that's when you start placing the blame on the person, saying, look, I'm feeling bad, I'm feeling depressed, I'm anxious, I'm having a panic attack because of you. But in reality, when you serve, you're doing something that the first person who has this privilege, the benefit is you. You feel good. You feel like you start to even feel better. Because for you to do with the other person what they do to you, everybody does that. There's nothing special about it. You're not gaining anything. You don't have any star. You're not doing anything. You're the same as any other person in your place. But for you not to do with a person what they're doing to you, then you feel, wow, you admire yourself, And I'm sure that just one person, strong person, is the one that is able to serve. And Rebecca, this was something about Rebecca. Because if she was, a woman who was bitter, who was annoying, she wouldn't be serving. She wouldn't want to serve, because when you're not okay inside, you don't even want to know about other people. But when you are good inside with yourself, you want to help other people. It's a pleasure to do for people what you would want them to do for you. So the serving, it says a lot about of who we are. If I serve Renato, I'm saying a lot about myself without speaking, without putting it on social media. I'm saying a lot about myself. He's reading, he's seeing, he's admiring. Because today they say that if you value yourself, is to not serve others. It's to do everything your way. Everything has to be your way. People need to serve you. That's what the world says that it is to value yourself. But I say, the people who do these things, do they feel valued? No. If they're really sincere, if they're very sincere with themselves, they're going to recognize that they don't feel good. Now, when you serve, it's something divine. It's something divine when you serve. It's as if God is honoring you as a person. You're doing my will. You're pleasing me. You're just like me. Because that's what God did, and that's what He does. He serves. He serves until today. Even people who don't, make it an effort to give themselves to Him. Even people who use the blessings, who just want to use God for His blessings. They know that they're just using Him, but even then, God serves. So when I practice this, I'm being like God. I'm creating a habit, a character that is divine.
And let's emphasize, Abraham's servant was a servant. He was a servant. He was a servant, so he knew what it was to serve. And the criteria he used to select Isaac's future wife wasn't beauty. It wasn't anything that people use today as a criteria. The criteria he used was, let's see the spirit of servant that she has. He knew that if she could serve, she would make a good wife.
To serve a stranger, right? Someone she didn't know.
And the camels, not forgetting the camels, right? So the criteria he used was really good. He hit the bullseye. It was really God who inspired him to make that test. This also teaches us another lesson today. For example, you who are single, you're analyzing a person. What criteria are you using to evaluate? We usually hear the woman saying, oh, he should have a good job, financial stability, right? That he shouldn't have any addictions. He should be faithful, of a good reputation, and so on and so forth. The woman usually uses this concept, these criteria. The man uses the criteria of beauty, and so on. If the woman is attractive and has attributes, if he likes her conversation, and so on. But look at this criteria here. For the election of both, Rebecca was being tested, and she didn't know. She passed the test because that was who she was. It was her nature. Isaac was also being tested and allowing his father to send a servant to choose a wife for him. He didn't know, but he also passed the test. So you have to use this criteria. You have to evaluate, see the details that the person shows before getting married. Because sometimes the desire to get married is so great that you turn a blind eye to the details. You look at important things and you say, oh, I don't think this is that important.
And when you are able to identify it. So when you are a servant, when you are serving, you can identify who is a servant and who isn't. And you have this criteria already. That's why it's important for the single ones to learn this, to learn to be servants. You know, yes, you're not married. There's no way for you to serve a husband, a wife, but you have a mother, you have a father, you have a colleague at work, you have people in your life that you're able to, and you could be doing what Rebecca did. Even strangers, you could be doing that, you know? But sometimes you're so worried in, earning money, in your own life, about your own future, that you forget about everybody around you. You become that person who, doesn't have time for anyone, doesn't have time to talk to anyone, doesn't have time for friends, doesn't have time to give anyone any advice. You're just so busy. You're always working, studying. You're a person that is isolated, meaning while you're isolated, you're not learning to serve anyone. You're just serving yourself. And when you get married, you're going to have a great difficulty because you're not going to want to serve that person because you're so used to this single life of serving yourself that you're going to say, do you want water? Go get water yourself. Make a way. If you want to eat. Go buy something. I have my life. I have my money. I have my plans. I have my objectives. I have my friends. Meaning the person many times has problems in their marriage because back then they never learned how to serve or place themselves in a situation of a servant.
Yes, it starts there with the father and the mother, as you said. The mother tells the child, tidy your bedroom, tidy your bed. And the son doesn't want to tidy his own bedroom. I mean, even the place he sleeps, he doesn't want to contribute to doing his part in the house. And then you ask the daughter, wash the dishes, daughter. She doesn't want to. I mean, I understand. It's okay. When you're a kid, it can happen. Once in a while, being lazy and not wanting to help, that's normal. But in general, being resistant to doing your part where you live for your own father and mother. I mean, if you can't serve your mother or father, how are you going to serve someone else? So these kindnesses, these facts that show up in a marriage where there is a couple who serves each other are very important, extremely. And this goes against what you learn out there. This is what you have to understand. Nobody is going to teach you this out there. Nobody will. On the contrary, you will receive advice from your friends, you women, for you not to be weak. Don't be dumb. Oh no, I don't let any man tell me what to do. With my husband, it's like this. Or the man says, with my wife, it's like this. Both like to gab about their advantages while taking advantage of the other. So you won't hear what you're hearing here out there. And this goes against the world, but it's the word of God. It's the Genesis. Yes, it's the teaching of faith at its origin.
That's what works.
That's what really works. But you have to believe, you have to practice, starting from you. Because if you don't want to serve, you shouldn't get married. Neither man, neither woman. Because marriage is serving and serving. Listening to your wife, you're serving. You're serving her because she needs to talk. She needs to be heard. She wants attention. So you stop doing what you want to do, what you like to do, to pay attention to her. Serving. She needs something. Oh, take out the trash. What are you going to do? You live there too. The trash is also yours. So there are the pleasant things, the unpleasant ones, but marriage is serving all the time. Are you okay today? Do you need something?
And that's where you show your love while you're acting. Because sometimes you say, oh, but I don't feel love towards that person. I don't feel like they love me. And you think that the way the person's going to show you they love you is by saying, I love you. But how many people say that they love you and they cheat? They put it there on social media. They make a love declaration on social media saying, you're my life. And next week they're already cheating and then they're getting divorced. So words and words, what really counts is what you do. And what can you do? Honestly, what can you do to show your love? For example, at home, what can you do at home? If you remove that service, what's left? What's left? So how can I show my love without serving Renato? I'm not, I'm just going to speak. I'm just going to speak or just buy things, buy a gift that somebody who cheats also does. But when the person loves, they have pleasure. Besides them wanting to serve, it's a pleasure for them to make the person that they love happy. For example, you who are a mother and you give a gift to, some clothes, or you take your child to a park, or do something that that your child wanted a lot. And you see that happiness, that smile on their face. You say, what a pleasure to see your child happy. That's the pleasure to serve. That pleasure to serve has to be in your relationship. We need to have this pleasure in our relationship. And when you get married, and usually you want to be served, meaning if you want to be served, then why don't you serve? Right?
And to finish, chapter 24 ends with a beautiful verse, because it says that when Isaac meets Rebekah, it was, I think, love at first sight, right? Although I don't really believe in love at first sight, but it was love at first faith. Let's put it this way. It was in faith. It was a meeting of faith. But it says that Isaac was consoled. He was comforted after losing Sarah when he met Rebekah. Meaning Rebekah took the place of his mother in Isaac's life, just as he took the place of Rebekah's father that she left in her land. She left him for the future husband that she didn't know. She left the whole family and came in the faith that she was going to find her future husband. Meaning, he took the place of her father and she took the place of Sarah, Isaac's mother. This is what happens, what should happen in marriage. When you get married, you look for someone to replace your mother. The wife is looking for someone to replace her father, which will be as good as and even better than your father. And so a new family is born. So that is God's plan. That's the way He established marriage. Those who believe will practice. Those who don't believe, good luck with what they're doing out there. Amen.